Hi everyone, my computer is running a little bit slow today. I'm gonna try to get that fixed in just a second. In the meantime, oh, my fire alarm just went off. It's all okay. In the meantime, if you haven't been here before, this is a space where you can come and ask questions, anything at all about private practice. Go ahead and start dropping your questions in the chat box. This is where they'll come up, and then I will go ahead and start answering them. So go ahead and do that. If it's buffering or lagging, I apologize for that. I have a very old computer and it's starting to like overheat. I think we should be good. But if you haven't been here before, my name is Matt. I like to host these every so often just for people to come and ask questions. When I was starting private practice, I realized there wasn't, I could find a lot of information online, but I had a really hard time actually, finding someone to talk to. And so that's what this is for. Again, if you haven't been here before, welcome. Glad you're here. Go ahead and start putting your questions in the chat, and I'm going to mess around with my computer a little bit and get it, hopefully get it to start working a little bit better. All right, maybe this will start working a little bit better. Let me go ahead and turn this off. Okay. All right, I see some questions coming through. I'm going to get to it in just a second. All right, this should be working a little bit better. All right, we're still connected. All right, let's see here. Is my video a little bit off center? It is. All right, sorry guys, everything looks a little bit off center. So let me see if I fix that. That's better, and that's better. All right, I think we're good here. All right, we got some questions coming in. Let's see, hopefully this works. It works. All right. Hey Matt, I appreciate your latest video this week. You may be giving away too much information. You can never give away too much information. A lot of this information is gate kept and held very tightly. And that's one of the hopes about this YouTube channel, the videos I make, even these right here. A lot of this information I really want to give to people so that they can take it and really run and thrive. And I think you're probably referring, well, I've given away a couple videos this week. One video that just went live is kind of all about marketing, not so much about like specific strategies, although that's in there, but more so like how do you actually understand marketing for private practice? This is often, people try to sell you marketing strategies, but they don't actually tell you what a marketing strategy even is or what it means. So we are really confused. At least that was for me, right? Selling me like these packages to grow my practice, to get all these clients. But I didn't really understand what they were talking about. So that's why I made that video. But I'm glad you liked it, and more to come. I see more people are joining. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. I apologize. I think might be lagging on your end. My computer seems to be running a little bit slow, and I'm sorry for that. But I can still get the questions. So if you are just joining, go ahead and take your questions. Drop them in the comments. Any questions you might have, I'm here to answer as best as I can. So please go ahead and start putting questions there, and I'll get to them as they come. And I'll hang out as long as people want to ask questions and hang out. All right, so let's see here. I'm just trying to see. It looks like, is this? It's not lagging. Okay. And this is live, obviously, so you might see me talking to myself a little bit, trying to figure out what's on the screen and what's not, making some adjustments. You'll probably see that. But please keep the questions coming. I'll also be checking email every so often because sometimes people add their questions there. All right, I see more people joining. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Go ahead and just whatever questions you have about private practice, this is a safe space to ask them. In the comment section, like the chat box, that's where you drop them. And I will I'll be happy to answer whatever questions you have. All right. And yeah, if you're here, you just want to hang out, get some admin done, do it with some people. You can do that as well. You can just listen in. And if there are no questions, that's also great too. Perhaps everything's been answered. But I'm here to hang out and answer questions. All right. So welcome. Glad you're here. Hi everyone. Glad you're joining. Welcome. We're just getting started. I've already apologized for this. My computer's really old. It might be lagging on your end. Sorry about that. But we can still answer these questions. Here we go. Hi, Matt. Thanks for having these live chats. No problem. I love to have them. I was thinking about investing in business marketing company to help accelerate my practice. They cost around $5,000 for the help. Do you think it is worth it? This is a great question. It's something I'm also investing in at the moment. Now, a couple things for you. I actually just released a video today on YouTube all about marketing strategies. I think that will really help you out. So after this, go ahead and check that out. I'll leave it down below, a link for that. But when it comes to a marketing strategy, in my experience, a lot of times what people are actually trying to sell you or market to you is something like an SEO strategy, right? So keyword research, showing up on Google results, maybe even adding in some Google ads, things like that. And so the question of whether or not it's worth it, big picture, I think in order to grow and to expand, investing into next level marketing like that, like having a company help you with that stuff, is definitely worth it. In terms of how effective it is for everyone, it's totally different. And what I've been learning is things like location, specialty, and niche, all these things matter. Right. So for example, I'm running a Google ad right now in New York City. And what I'm finding out is that because there's so much competition around me, my ad might not perform as well as it would for someone in a rural setting or in a less like a place that's not as populated. So it's not going to be an overnight success. It takes trial and error. And there are going to be a lot more costs than maybe being listed on a directory, right? So that's kind of what you're mentioning is $5,000, kind of a reasonable cost. I've certainly seen much higher than that, and I've also seen much lower. My encouragement to you, and 5,000 seems probably, depending on what they're giving you, right? I think for that, I would hope that you would get copy on the website, some website pages developed, help with a Google ad, all that stuff. I would hope that all that would be in that package. So I'd be interested to know what that package entails. I am currently working with a company now called Counseling Wise. They do marketing for private practice. And they actually will have a free consult with you, and they'll really talk to you, about what they do. You might want to check them out. Usually what I encourage people to do is vet a couple different companies, see what feels right, what sounds right, ask a lot of questions, use those 30-minute consultations well. And hopefully the video I made today will help you kind of ask good questions. But essentially, you're paying for someone to do Google Ads, SEO, building your practice that way, maybe social media. $5,000 is not horrible. You're really investing in that next level, but don't be confused. There's no one and done solution. Nothing is going to be like a perfect, I did it. I paid the $5,000 and everything works. There are going to be hiccups, trial and errors. I hope that helps a little bit. If there are more follow-up questions based off what I just shared, drop them down below. I'm happy to continue to answer questions about that. Hi, Matt. Starting a private practice, and I want to get more private pay clients. Any advice? Yeah, that's a great question. So a couple of things about going all cash pay. Number one, it's not easy. I think a lot of people make it sound like it's an easy endeavor. I want to normalize that it's not easy to go cash pay. It's hard. Yeah, that's not talked about enough. So let me just say that first. Second, is it possible? Absolutely, it's possible. A couple things that are going to make it a bit easier is having a well-defined niche and specialty. This is probably very cliche. I think a lot of people talk about that. But most people are not willing to pay out of pocket for just a generalist because there's so many of them out there. If you have a unique specialty and niche that you do that others don't, this is going to go a really long way for you. All right, that's number one. Number two, is going to be to recognize that it might be slower for you to build up, right? So you're going to get might get a lot of referrals. Not everyone's going to stick. This is because you're not taking insurance. You might be a little more selective, that kind of thing, right? So being okay with a bit of a slower growth curve, that's another thing. And then 3, you might really want to consider investing into different marketing strategies that other people aren't. So for example, if you're just doing insurance, being listed on a directory might be sufficient. If you're really trying to go all cash pay, you might want to invest in a marketing company like we just talked about to help you with Google Ads, SEO, and that kind of thing. It is a bigger investment, but you are trying to do something different that others aren't. You're trying to go all cash pay. And so perhaps investing some of your money and resources into marketing. And again, I think things like Google Ads, SEO, website design are going to be big. We just mentioned that. And I released a video today all about that. It's on my YouTube channel. Check that out. I'm working with a company called Counseling Wise. Again, just mentioned that too. I don't, I'm just in the middle of working with them. So I'm going to post a review later when I kind of figure out, was it worth it or not? But as far as their actual work, they're priced really well. They're really fair and they answer a lot of questions. So I really appreciate that. Worth checking out. But hopefully that helps give you some sort of guidance on being cash pay. Doable, but difficult. A great question. All right. Please keep the questions coming. If you're here, just joining, welcome. I'm glad you're here. It's a space where you can just come and ask questions. When I was starting my private practice, I had a lot of internet websites to go to and videos to watch, but rarely was I able to talk to someone. And if they were offering that, they were going to charge me a ton of money. So this is a space where you can come and just ask your questions. So yeah, I'll hang out until questions stop or until, people stop logging in, but I see there's a decent amount of viewers here. While we wait for questions to come in, if you're not familiar with what I do, my name is Matt. I'm a therapist in private practice. I have a group practice as well. I like to make videos, all about private practice. My whole mission is to not gatekeep any information, but to really, give people access to information for free or at least very affordable. A lot of this stuff about private practice is gate-kept very heavily. So I'm trying to avoid that. So I put out a lot of free videos on my YouTube channel. You can check that out. And then if you're interested, I'm not always available to interact like this with a live video. So I actually started a community, like a consultation group. I interact in there directly with people. I respond to every single question. I post webinars. That is something, if you're interested in that, I'll leave a link to that down below. That is, something you can sign up for if you're interested in that. Again, I'll leave a link for that. But welcome. I'm glad you're here. All right, looks like a lot of questions are coming through delayed, so I'm sorry if I have not seen them. Here we go. I see them now. What are your thoughts on the maximum number of clients per day? I know the answer is it depends, but I see some therapists working 2 days per week, seeing 10 clients per day. It's tempting. So great question. And the cliche answer is it depends, which is true. At the same time, I've actually just been thinking about this myself. You want to think through a couple of things. One, what is your main motivator? What is your main priority, right? If your main priority is to maximize the amount of time you're off, then packing in a whole bunch of clients into 2 days might be a worthwhile endeavor for you. Now, my advice is if you have thoughts about this, you want to try something out, give it a try. You can always revert back to something else. You can, it's really about trial and error because you really don't know until you've tried it. Right, I went through a season where I saw a lot of clients packed into several days, and that was going well for a while. But then it was not working for me anymore. I started to, it was hard for me. So then I readjusted and kind of spread them out. So I think it's going to be seasonal. I like to think about private practice as seasonal. So maybe for a season, you do 10 clients for 2 days. And that works well. Eventually that'll get hard or old and you want to kind of change it up. But to kind of guide your decision making, what is your priority? Is it more time off? Is it just an easier day? right? So then maybe you spread them out, or is it finances? So do you want to pack in people, over the course of several days? I think all of us would agree that our main priority is providing really good quality care to our clients. So also to be sure that you're not burning yourself out, right? You really want to present your best self to your clients. And that's going to involve maybe a sacrifice on our end as well, right? So maybe I won't see so many clients per day because I really want to be fresh for every session. But think through some of your values, what it is you're wanting to try, and also just trial and error. It's okay to try something. It doesn't work, you fix it, right? So you don't have to be stuck if you make that decision. I hope that helps you be a little more free in making your decision. You're welcome. Hopefully that was helpful. Please feel free to ask more questions if you got them. Right. Why do so few private practitioners accept Medicaid? For example, is the credentialing process difficult, low reimbursement? I'm just starting out, so wondering if it's a good idea or not. A great question. I have some insights on this. So it's actually a couple things. One is the credentialing process is lengthy and it's challenging. It's not impossible, but it's not as easy as other places. That being said, credentialing in general is not easy, right? But Medicaid adds on all these other layers. That is, one of the reasons why people don't do it. The reimbursement actually tends to be quite good. So it's not usually the reimbursement. Medicaid actually reimburses quite well. The credentialing process is difficult. Even if you work with a credentialing company, which I had done to panel myself and my group with a couple providers, I asked about Medicaid and they were going to charge me extra, not to add on Medicaid, but make Medicaid cost more to be paneled with because it's more difficult. That's one. Number two is Medicaid is going to have some fairly strict requirements, right? So they're going to be, really making sure that they're tight, in terms of what you have to do. And again, we've all maybe are familiar with insurance companies. We don't always agree with what they have us doing. A lot of it's not in the best interest of the client or the provider, all this paperwork, so Medicaid is going to be strict on that end. And these are some of the main reasons, right? And then, so if someone can be paneled with other providers and it's competent, or the compensation is comparable, some people just say, why do Medicaid, right? Medicaid makes it challenging. I want to accept Medicaid and make my practice even more accessible, but it's challenging for those reasons, right? And hopefully that gets better in the future. But hopefully that answers your question a little bit. The reimbursement's not bad. That I'll give you. The reimbursement tends to be okay. Let's see. We got more questions. If I miss any question, just let me know, all right? But I think I'm catching them all here. I'm transitioning from agency work to private practice, currently 1 day a week. Any recommendations for, I think you mean business plan development, financial planning, etc.? Great question. Yeah, so I was actually talking to someone about that this week. A couple of things to really think about. What is your goal for being in private practice? It might sound like an obvious question. Maybe you've already worked that out. But what's your goal in terms of, and this can always change, right? But having some vision for your business. So do you eventually want to be full-time private practice? Do you think you might want to have a group practice and really start a business where you hire employees, right? You really want to think about the future of your business and what it might be. And some people just say, hey, I want to see a couple clients in the evenings and nothing more than that. I just want to have a very small business and take it, not really see it as a big business, but just really kind of step in that direction. This is really going to help us kind of figure out what our next steps are. So if you decide, for example, my goal is to be full-time private practice, we now have a sense of what we need to do, right? Now we need to start thinking about, well, what I need an intake packet, right? I need to know all the laws and rules in my state. So we need to set up a consultation with an attorney. I need to get my accounting figured out. Like, what are the tax laws? How do I pay taxes as an individual? Do I need a business entity? Right? You can see there's a lot here. Right. So if you're I'm reading your comment here again, you're transitioning from agency to private practice. Think about the larger goal and then start to work backwards from there. Right? Because that larger goal will inform every other decision. Okay. But some small things you can really start to think about that you'll need anyway, whether you're, just transitioning or in the future. A consultation with an attorney is going to be big. I would start with that. An intake packet that should come from an attorney. When you consult with a healthcare attorney, ask about intake packets and that kind of thing. Setting up a meeting with an accountant. Say, I want to start my own business, a private practice. What do I need to do? Do you need a business entity, a DBA? I mean, there's a whole sorts of things that you can do. Start there. Okay. And then, as part of your bigger goal, maybe it's not so much about what you're doing full time, but maybe it's about finances. Maybe if it's about work-life balance, start with that bigger goal, work backwards. And, there's a lot we can do there. Hopefully that gives you a good start. If that confused you or it gives you more questions, leave them down below. Hi, Matt. How do a psychiatric nurse practitioner partner with a therapist, counselors to expand my private practice and reach more clients? This is a great question. So this is a fairly complicated question, actually. So in the state of New York, when we have our own, so I have a colleague of mine who is a nurse practitioner. I'm not sure if a nurse practitioner can hire a therapist. So there's legal issues here. In New York, we have to establish what's called a PLLC, or a PC, a professional corporation, professional limited liability company. And in some states, it's similar. Basically, what that means is as a licensed professional who operates a business, there's all sorts of rules and laws. So for example, as a PLLC, I cannot hire people outside of my scope of practice. So just for a simple example, I can't hire a chiropractor as an employee in my practice because we're a PLLC and we do clinical social work as far as the state of New York is concerned. Now that's a law in New York. I don't know. So you have to consult with an attorney and see if you would be able to hire a therapist. So that's one way if you want to, kind of expand. You might be able to if your licensure kind of engulfs the other one. But make sure you're asking an attorney about that. All right. You don't want to hire illegally outside of your scope of business. But you can collaborate in other ways. You can do contractor, you can kind of maybe do your two businesses collaborate, this kind of thing. But if you want to hire a therapist, consult with the attorney first. And then if you're able to, you can kind of go through that hiring process. I hope that helps. Some of these questions make people more confused because the answers are complex. But let me know. All questions are good. So yes, fully hear that here. Where are you located, licensed in what states? Good question. I am located in New York, and I am licensed in New York and New Jersey. I had 3 weeks in September where I had to go out of town a lot. I ended up seeing all 23 clients in 3 days. It was amazing to have the time off, but my notes fell way behind. So I think this is a great point. There's a lot of trial and error. There's a lot of, there's really no perfect solution, right? So you're giving a great example, right? Where you saw clients packed into a couple of days and it was good. You had the free time. At the same time, your notes fell off, right? So there's it's going to cost us somewhere, right? It's about finding what rhythm works for you. And again, seasonal. Right? Sometimes like this example, we had to do it. You went on vacation or you went away, right? But it's seasonal, but don't be afraid to try things out, play around with your schedule, find the rhythm that works for you. As therapists in private practice or practitioners, we sometimes feel like every decision is permanent. Well, if I orient my schedule this way, it's going to be stuck. That's the beauty of being in private practice. You can reorient your schedule. Now, of course, I know it's not that simple. We're working with clients and things like that. But that is the beauty. You can slowly reorient as needed. And thanks for sharing your experience. It's awesome. You're welcome. All right. Awesome. So we're answering some great questions. So these are great questions, everyone. Thanks so much for asking. I'm hanging out to answer more questions. I'm checking my email. I'm not trying to be rude here. So I'm going to hang out until questions stop, at least for a little while. If you're just hanging out with us today, awesome. Maybe you're hopefully getting some admin work done or something like that. And you can hang out, just listen in. But yeah, if we have more questions, please drop them in the chat. I think there's been some lag in the chat. If I missed your question, just let me know. I don't think I have. Looks like I got to all of them. But please keep adding them. If you haven't been here before, it's your first time, welcome. I'm glad to have you here. Hopefully you find this helpful. What is this? we got more questions. All right, let's see. I'd like to set a flat rate for services rendered by future contractors. How do you go about setting rates for the therapists you hire? Thanks. Yeah, good question. Again, another kind of complex thing to think through here. So you got to think about a couple things. I think most importantly, you have to get a sense of the market rate for where you are. All right. Now, how do you get a sense of market rate? This is going to take some back-end research. So you're going to have to perhaps go on Indeed and look through the job postings that are similar to yours. You're going to have to do some research, Glassdoor, right? These kind of places, maybe even asking folks that you know. I know it can sound like a personal question, but if there's people you're able to connect with, what are the hourly rates here? Or if you know a company that hires contractors, right? So a lot of startup companies, what are they paying their folks? So really doing that, and that is frustrating, right? But doing the back-end research, getting a sense of what is the market rate where you are for the position you're trying to hire for. That's number one. Right now, as someone who may be starting a small private practice, you might not be able to compete with the startup companies who can pay higher. But you still want to find yourself somewhere on that spectrum, right? If you find, let's say the range is totally made up, 50 to 70. You can't be so low, right? You can't be like 10, right? That's not going to work. You also can't be so high because that's just not going to work out. You'll go bankrupt. It just won't work. So finding yourself somewhere in that range where you're comfortable and you've already thought about what it is you want to make, right? You got to think about that too. And then number two is assuming we can't compete financially with startup companies as small practices, you have to think about what else are you offering? What is the edge, right? So let's say the range is 50 to 70. You're going to say, you know what, I'm just starting out. I can't do much more than 55. So you're doing 55. You know it's lower, right? You lean into that. You already know it's lower. So then what else are you offering and providing to these folks that would make your practice a competitive place to work? Is it a specialty? Are you offering really good supervision? Are you teaching them a niche? What are you offering them that is not monetary compensation that's of value? So you want to think about it that way too. And then from there, you're able to confidently kind of come forward with like, I have this rate. This is what it is. I'm aware of the market competition. However, this is what you get in my practice, right? So that's how you want to think about it. Start with that market research though. I hope that's helpful. Are there any attorneys or accountants that you recommend? I'll leave links to the people that I work with down below. I'm in the state of New York, so keep that in mind. I do think, it's sometimes trial and error with these things, but word of mouth is good. And I've been happy with the people I've worked with, both the attorney and the accountant. I will leave the links to their info in the description for you. All right, so be ready to take a look there. All right, I'll drop that in for you. Links to their websites. Okay. Someone looks like they asked a question, but then they were able to retract it, which is okay if the question wasn't the right one you wanted to ask. More great questions. Looks like more people have kind of joined us. If you've never been here before, welcome. I see new people joining. My name is Matt. I'm glad to be here answering questions for people about private practice. If you haven't done so already and you've not been here before, check out my YouTube channel. Subscribe. It's pretty easy to do. It really helps me out. That would be really great. Check out the videos. But yeah, today we're just hanging out, answering questions about private practice. We'll be here until questions stop. Oh, okay. We got a bunch of questions. I apologize. Things are It looks like I get all these messages at once, but I think it's lagged. So here we go. All right. I'm in New Jersey and joined a private practice, and now trying to separate to go on my own, not have someone take a large percentage. Do I have to end my contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield to reapply and see what clients under just me? So a great question, actually, and something you might not know. So it really depends on whether or not your current group practice paneled you under a group contract, or if they paneled you individually. Most likely, you're still going to be paneled. A lot of people don't talk about that, but I think most likely you could potentially still be paneled. So just call the insurance company that you are paneled with, and ask them, if I separate on my own, am I paneled? A lot of times, group practices aren't able to get a group contract, so they actually just panel everyone individually, which is actually an added benefit to the employees, the contract, whoever they're hiring. And then that doesn't necessarily end. This is not like an Alma or a Headway. Right, so you can probably take that credentialing with you. So just call the insurance company, the provider portal, and let them know your situation and see. My guess is you're probably going to be paneled still, even if you leave, meaning you don't have to restart. Okay. Just correction, the flat rate versus fee split. This is really going to come down to your own personal goals, and some of that market research as well, right? So kind of see you're going to see a lot of group practices maybe doing the fee, like the percentage split. And then you'll see kind of startup companies doing kind of these flat rates. It's really up to you. And think about this. This is, again, it's not something like your schedule where you can change it like whenever you want. But this is trial and error in some regard, but you have to be really smart about it. So just do some basic math. Think about what it is your upfront costs are, like what's it going to cost you to actually employ a contractor. Technically, you're not employed. To hire a contractor, what are you providing them? What does that cost? How much are you going to be reimbursed for a session, and how much do you want to make? Do that math, see what that number is, and see how that aligns with the market research, and go from there. And that could, maybe fee split works better in that regard, maybe flat rate. But again, start with that simple math. I know I skipped that part. Don't skip it. All right, hopefully that helps. With the combination of the growth of AI, artificial intelligence, and platforms like Talkspace, in your opinion, what is the future of private practice 5 to 10 years from now? Wow, that's a great question. I haven't really thought deeply about the artificial intelligence in private practice, although maybe it's something I should. I'm not sure, the way I think about it a little bit, at least right now, is like, the AI stuff in some regard can be helpful for certain things. It can be harmful for others. I don't foresee it replacing therapists. I really don't think that that's the case. I think AI will become another tool that people can learn to use that might make things easier. Maybe documentation, I make videos. AI kind of helps with cutting some of the videos I make, right? I think it'll be another tool that therapists can use to help. To what degree, I don't know. But it's also going to be important to see how people end up using it and being really cautious to really make sure we provide great care to our clients still, right? But 5 to 10 years, I'm not sure. I guess we'll see. Hopefully that answers a little bit. I'll think more about that one though. All right, we got more questions. All right, we got a little string of questions here. Not sure if you asked this. It's okay to ask again. Let's see. You're licensed in New York. Okay. You recently got licensed in Connecticut. Sounds good. Does this mean I need to pay Connecticut taxes as well? You work telehealth. So great job. Great job getting licensed and telehealth. So it's really cool. You're expanding your offerings and things like that. As far as being licensed and then paying taxes, this is going to be more of a state issue when it comes to how states define doing business inside of their state. This is really confusing, but let me give you an example. So I'm licensed in New York and New Jersey. Business is established in New York, right? And so when I did my taxes at the end of the year, a while back, my accountant came back and said, oh, hey, no, New Jersey views business this way. Basically, you need to separate all of your New Jersey clients and figure out what revenue came from New Jersey, because New Jersey taxes telehealth differently than New York State does. This didn't really have to do with the licensure, but because I was licensed in New Jersey also and conducting business in the state of New Jersey, technically, I had to pay New Jersey taxes a certain way. Now, it wasn't a big deal. We were able to figure it all out pretty easily. But ask your accountant and say, hey, I'm seeing people sitting in Connecticut. And then that accountant has to find out, well, how does Connecticut define that business, and what is going to be required? Every state is different. So ask your accountant, just tell them, I'm licensed in this state. I'm seeing clients sitting here. What does that mean for me for taxes? I had no idea until the end of the year. So that's good news in the sense it wasn't a big deal. I was able to figure it out at the end of the year. I now knew for the next year. But every state defines doing business differently. So just ask the accountant. Also, if you join the membership, you'll be able to assist me in navigating hiring 1099s in New York City. In the membership, people are asking about this stuff. They come in and ask a lot of questions. I provide direct feedback. I answer everything, make webinars. It would really depend. If you want to send me an email with some of the specific questions, some of the questions might be best answered by a lawyer and investing in that kind of consultation. But send me an email with some of the specific questions. I won't necessarily answer the questions in the email, but I'll at least let you know if my consultation group would be appropriate or if you'd be best served with an attorney. I don't want to waste anyone's time. All right, so hopefully that helps. What companies do you recommend for SEO? Great question. So I haven't worked with a whole bunch. I've seen a whole bunch. A couple of things that I think will help you in your journey of finding one. And also I'll share with you who I'm working with now. I'm working with a company called Counseling Wise, where they've developed web pages for me. They helped me redesign the website a little bit, not so much like the look and feel, but like to make sure that when a client lands on it, it looks, it works to kind of draw them in. They wrote the copy for me in some of the web pages, and they're developing a Google ad. I have yet to find out the results. So far, things are okay, working well. I like the work they've done, but I'll post that in a later video. Now, a couple things to look out for. So when it comes to SEO and marketing, you really want to make sure that you do good vetting. Now, I know a lot of us don't know what we're actually looking for. Watch my video I just posted today. This will give you more information about what exactly to look for and ask about. But I think essentially what marketing companies for private practitioners are trying to sell you, they're trying to sell you an SEO strategy, and they're trying to sell you Google ads. A couple things to think about is that these strategies, they're just strategies. And there's all sorts of strategies that people find that work, that don't work. So you get a lot of marketing people who have come up with strategies for therapists, and then they try to sell this strategy to therapists as a package. I see some people going they're trying to sell you a $10,000 package. There's no guarantee it's going to work. You got things like that. And then you got people who are maybe more ad hoc, meaning they'll kind of or a la carte. This is kind of the company I work with, which I appreciate. They're not pressured. They're not trying to make me buy anything I don't need. And they're kind of allowing me to pick and choose exactly what I want. So I wanted to start with just 2 web pages. I didn't want to do my whole website, and they were fine with that. So I did 2 web pages. That's it. We wrote them. We're going to see how it works. So I really appreciated that. Schedule as many consultations as you have time for with a marketing company. Get a good, and then as you do that, you start to know through these consultations what they're trying to sell you. That's how I started to learn a little bit more. Did a whole bunch of consultations, started to get the lay of the land because I didn't really know. I take that information from the consultation. I start Googling and do a little bit more of my own research. I start to really understand a bit more about what people are trying to sell me. And then I think about the finances and what makes the most sense. And I'm also recognizing all of it's a risk. But if we take a bigger risk, we have a bigger payoff. And in private practice, when we're trying to grow, it's the same thing. So you're not going to find a perfectly, that's a well-reviewed place. It's going to work wonders for you. All a little bit of risk. I hope that guides you a little bit. I wish I gave you a really simple answer like do this company and it's going to work really well. But it's a little more complex than that. All right. What's the process to get licensed in another state? that you don't live in. I'm in New York and I would like to apply for New Jersey. Great question. I did that myself. That process is actually not that difficult. It does take a long time, just because New Jersey is fairly slow. But what you'll do is you'll go on the New Jersey website, and you basically you don't have to take the test or anything, but you just have to apply for the license just the same way you did for New York. So you're going to go through the application. They're going to make you send in your transcripts. They're going to make you send in your hours again, right? So all that paperwork that you had for New York, you pretty much have to send it to New Jersey, fill out that application, pay the fee, right? That application will go through, they'll review it, and then they'll have you get fingerprinted. You can do that in New York, but you'll get fingerprinted for New Jersey. And then from there, you're pretty much ready to go. So you're filling out the application, getting fingerprinted, and just waiting for them to approve you. For me, it took a long time. I think it was like 7-8 months, but that's because they didn't respond with me. And it wasn't urgent for me, so I didn't push it too much. So you'll have to kind of like go back and forth with them, that kind of thing. But it's just an application basically. All right, hopefully that helps, but not easy. I mean, easy, takes a long time, not very hard. You can certainly get that done. And it will open up your business, a little bit more. Great question. I think this is the exact opposite question that we just answered. So I was actually licensed in New York first. But because the states are, I think it would work the same way. Because it was easy to do it in New Jersey, it must mean that in New York, from New Jersey to New York, it also wouldn't be that difficult. Because basically it kind of lines up the requirements, right? So go onto the New York State website, fill out the application, XYZ, and then kind of, again, very slow. But I think for New Jersey, New York, it's also just an application and kind of making sure they process all the stuff and, of course, paying the fee. Hopefully that helps. These are great questions, everyone. These are some really, really good questions actually today. I'm happy to answer these. I hope I'm pointing you in a direction you find helpful. If you're just joining, welcome. I'm going to hang out for another 15 minutes. That'll put us at a full hour here. If you've got questions, drop them in the chat. If you haven't been here before, welcome. My name is Matt. Awesome to have you. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please do that. It really helps me. It's easy for you to do. If you like stuff like this, you want to interact with me directly more frequently, consider joining my membership community, my consultation, no pressure. I'll leave a link to that down below. That's where you can kind of interact with me on a more regular basis. All right, so let's see, more questions. Very helpful, fantastic, awesome. What are your thoughts on the best length of time for free phone consultations? I struggle with going too long. Can you talk about the type of questions you ask during the free consultation? Great question. I actually talked about this with someone this week. A couple things. Let's start with the most basic. At the very core of it, a phone consultation is trying to make sure that the client's a right fit. Now, if you think about a clinical perspective, right? We're not thinking of business. We're not thinking any of that for a second. You want to assess most likely for safety, make sure there's no acute issues that will require a different level of care, right? And this is not clinical supervision here. I'm just giving you how I think about this. I think about the clinical stuff first, right? So again, safety, acuity, making sure there's nothing. So for example, I wouldn't want someone to schedule an intake with me and then I find out that they're in such acute crisis that they need, to be hospitalized or something. I want to screen that and deal with that right away. That helps the client because we're not wasting time at an intake. So clinical stuff first. And then from that, you're basically trying to decide two things. One, you're trying to hear what the client is looking for, and does what they look for fit within your scope? Now, it's not going to be perfect, but you just want to get a sense of what that client is looking for. Now, I know it's a little bit hard, but sometimes I'll preface with clients and say, if we work together, I'm going to get a better sense of what you're, all about. We'll really get to know each other. But for this call, I just need to get a brief synopsis of what you're going through, right? Just kind of set the stage that this call is short, is not very long, and you're just getting a high level view, right? And this will take some trial and error. And then from there, you also want to tell the client a bit about your practice, your approach, your style, and I try to keep both those sections to like 5 minutes, right? 5 minutes of hearing about what they're looking for, 5 minutes of my style, my approach. And then I save a couple minutes for next steps. And then from there, right, you've heard about the client. You're able to kind of say this client, at least from what I can tell here, is a good fit for what we do. They fall within the scope of our practice. And then two, the client's able to say, hey, yeah, I heard about what you do. I like it. I think we can do, set up an intake. And then from there, you're doing the admin stuff, which should be quick. Insurance, cash pay, whatever it is, and then getting them on the schedule, right? Now, if you're going to go over, you're going to go, a lot of times it's hard, but set the stage, right? When you first have that call, set the stage. We're going to talk for like 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, and then really just be diligent to keep that boundary. It's okay, right? I think clients like that sometimes, and because we need that. I hope that helps, but those are the three things I'm kind of going through. Clinical, what are they looking for? What I'm all about. I guess 4, admin. Try to keep that within 15 minutes. Thank you for today. Thank you for coming. I'm glad you were able to log in and hang out. Great questions. All right. So I'm just checking to see if there's anyone. Sometimes people ask me questions on email, so I'm not looking down to be rude, just trying to get a sense of what people are asking. I'm going to hang out for 10 more minutes. Looks like I've answered all the questions so far, which is great. They've been awesome today. Ooh, did I miss one? No. I see more, so let me start answering those. Give me one sec. If you have multi-state licenses, do you need a business entity established in those other states too? It's a great question, and hopefully not to confuse you or make it more complicated, but it depends on the state. So what you want to do is ask your accountant what that state requires. So let me just give you an example, and this is not exactly your situation, but it's similar. I have an employee. She is licensed in New York, but she lives in Texas. I had to register my business as a foreign entity in Texas. I only knew that because I had asked my accountant, right? So ask your accountant, say, hey, and this is why it's important to have a good, solid accountant that you can contact when you need to, that can answer your questions. That's a relationship that is crucial in private practice. You and I can't answer all these questions or even be expected to know, because think about this question, right? Do you need to establish? It's not a simple answer. It depends on the state. And so that's the accountant's job. And that's going to be one of the costs, right? So, but just to answer your question, if you don't have an accountant, get one, right? And again, I'm going to leave links to mine down below. And then what you'll do is say, hey, I'm licensed in all these states. This is where clients sit when I do my sessions. This is the state they're in. What do I need to do? And he'll tell you, what you need, or they will tell you what you need to do, and what the requirements are for that state. All right, but don't feel the pressure to have to figure all that out. The light bulb for me was when I figured out, one of the costs of business is having a good accountant on hand that I can ask questions to. That is crucial. Hopefully that helps. Looks like we're caught up on questions, everyone. These have been awesome questions. Like I said, I'm going to hang out till 1:30. If you got more, drop them in the chat. Want to hang out? Awesome to have you here. let's see. Questions have kind of quieted a little bit. That's good. These people are, hopefully the questions have been answered. If you have more, drop them in. We're going to hang out for a couple more minutes here. I'll hang out till 1:30. And also just give me 1 second. I'm going to grab some more water. All right, just give me 1 sec. All right, we're back. All right, we got a couple more questions coming through. How do you deal with not feeling overwhelmed by having so many other therapists out there trying to do private practice? Are you talking about like having employees in a group practice, or are you talking about kind of the competition of being a therapist in private practice in a sea of other therapists? If you could just, I want to answer the right question, so you can clarify, that would be really helpful. In a sea. Yeah, great question. So, I think essentially what you're asking is, how do we not feel overwhelmed? There's a lot of competition out there, a lot of other therapists. I think in many ways, we acknowledge that there's a lot out there, but I think what you'll find is that in a profession like this, there's always a need for mental health providers. Now, think about it this way, like, have you ever seen a primary care doctor not have patients, right? Like, you don't really hear about that. You don't really see that. In some regard, there's such a need that there's room for all the therapists, basically, at least what I'm seeing. I don't really see any cases where a therapist opens a private practice and gets no one because there's just not a need. I think, so, on one hand, we know that there's competition. And the same time, start your private practice Don't think about that too much. It's not so, that's one of the things about being in private practice. It's not like, yes, there is competition, but it's not like some other markets. There's enough need that there's room for all the therapists, right? Even in New York City, that's why I'm in New York City. I have yet to find a therapist who says they can't get any clients, right? Maybe in the beginning it's slow, doesn't build the way they want to, but I don't see any therapist with no one. So think about it that way, and then from there, just start doing your own thing, start building your own practice, and you'll start to see that there's room for you as well. Hopefully that helps. All right, got about 1 more minute. If there's any last minute questions, drop them in. If not, it's been awesome hanging out with you guys. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel. It's really helpful. Check out the newest video. I just released it today. If you want to interact with me directly, more consistently, consider joining my consultation group. I'll leave a link to that down below. It's just MatthewRyanLCSW.com/sign up. You can sign up there. Other than that, though, it has been awesome hanging out, and I will see everyone soon.